first war ever between two national entities. We learned about in the Chumash the difficulties, the anti-Semitic acts of a king against a family, right? But we only had what? A family. And now what is there? We have a nation. So in this parak, we're going to be learning about the first ever war of the Pilishtim against the nation of Israel. They apparently have been ruling, without it being mentioned, over the land of Israel, our area, for at least 200 years. For at least 200 years. And the question is, now that we have about to have a kingdom, will Shaul go to war against them? Will he fight against them? Question that we're raising, is there any relationship between this war happening now and the fact that we are to have a king now? Is there a relationship? What have you studied or heard?
No, I think that maybe they're afraid that we are going to rebel against them.
Okay, so Thomas says from a realistic, pragmatic point that maybe we might rebel. That could be one point. What do you say?
We saw in the previous chapter that Shaul will take initiative to defend that Giva, the city, the town Giva, against the Ammonim. So
Anshe Yavesh Gilad?
Machon Meir. So he defended them against the Ammonim. And he demonstrated that he is taking charge and control over
So you might say, so why would there be a war now?
They see that, okay, something going on here. He's able to mobilize.
So we better stop Shaul in the army now. Interesting point. So both of you are giving us what we call strategic points, which are very interesting. And I want to share with you the famous words of the Gaon, the Gra. The Gra is quoted, I think, on Sefer Habakkuk. I've never seen it, but I've heard it from several of my rabbis. There's a book in the Tanakh called Habakkuk. Yes, the Nevi'im Achronim. And the Gra there states the following. You know, every nation has their reason what they're doing here in the world. They have their role, their function in the world. The role of the Pilishtim, the Gra writes in Sefer Habakkuk, is to go up against the national independence of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. That is what the Gra says regarding the Pilishtim. What's happening now? Israel is about to have their Malchut for their first time. Therefore, who is aroused, who is stimulated or waking up to go to action? The Pilishtim. They want to be opponents, to be in opposition to this matter of Malchut Yisrael coming up. We're going to see this later on also during David's time. And the Torah, the Tanakh says the following, Pasuk Aleph. Ben shana sha'ul b'malcho, u'shtei shanim malach al Yisrael. Gee, doesn't this sound like a good history book? What we're about to learn is that Shaul is already, he's 1 year old. 1 year old? Would you please pass me the pacifier? You know what a pacifier is?
Yeah. It's probably because it's 1 year there is a king.
Many ask the question, well, if he ruled only 2 years and now we're in his first year, fine. What do I have to know this about? So, what I've been sharing with you the last few days, the approach of Rav Uzi Binifel, one of the special Rabbeim of Tanakh. And we've already touched upon two mistakes that Shaul has done, as if he's showing his immature level or readiness to really be the king. Remember one great mistake? The prophet asked him to show up in the area, and now he's going to be made king in front of everyone, and they use the Urim V'Tumim. What did he do? Nechba el hakelim. Nechba el hakelim. As a result of him hiding behind the kelim and not being there, the immediate speech that Shmuel, the prophet, made there, he wasn't present. He wasn't present. He missed shiur. He missed shiur. He doesn't know what's going on. Any other mistake that we've seen so far?
Even
That
when
he-
he was a king, he was keeping to work.
Very good. He's told to be the king by the prophet, and he manages himself as if he's a regular farmer. It seems that his relationship to being adhering to the words of a prophet, he's showing delinquency in this matter. He's showing that he's not fine in this matter. The opening of this chapter also may show that as if he's Ben Shana, as if he's a 1-year-old. Meaning, will we see that he does go to war? Is he ready to go to war against the Pilishtim? Does he stand in the task that the prophet gave him to be king and go to war? Let's see what happens. Vayivchar lo Shaul 3,000 Yisrael. Shaul chooses maybe some sort of royal god or something of this nature, and he has ready to his side 3,000 soldiers. Where does he station them? Vayuim shul alpayim b'michmash, v'har beit el, ve'elef hayuim Yonatan b'givat Binyamin, v'yeter ha'am shilach ish le'olav. Let's analyze what we're seeing right here. Shalom. Chapter 13. As far as a massive enlistment, do we see this? Yes or no? No. 3,000 soldiers only. Now, 2 of the 3,000 soldiers he stations in the area of Michmash. We saw on the map, Michmash is due east, a little north and east, already at the seam of the Judean desert. The seam of the Judean desert. What about another 1,000? Further north. Let's see on the map just to make sure. Further north, meaning the area of Beit El. If we said Michmash is where? Where's Michmash? Here on the map, do you see it? It's going this way. Here is Ma'alei Michmash. Okay? Going north in the mountain area is what? Ma'alei Michmash. Going north is Beit El. Where do you see Beit El? Here's Shiloh. Here is Beit El. So 2,000 are stationed northeast, and one more 1,000 stationed here in Beit El. That 1,000 is with who? He has a son. Yonatan is already a superstar. He is like apparently the head of a division, but only of 1,000 soldiers. And what about the rest of the soldiers? Where are they? They're sent home. How many soldiers did Shaul have? 330,000 soldiers. A full enlistment to go to war up against Yavesh, Anshe Yavesh Gilad. Where are they now? He sent them home. Excuse me. Is he aware of where the Pilishtim are? He's not stupid. He's obviously aware. Before we learn about the attack against the Pilishtim that are in Geva, okay, where is Geva? I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's in between the palace of Shaul called Givat Shaul and Malei Michmash. Okay, when you and I travel to go on this bypass road of today, right by the yeshuv called Adam or Geva Binyamin, there's an Arab village on the other side of the road called Jabba. Jabba, retaining the name Geva. So it's very interesting. We have forces east in Michmash. We have forces north in Beit El. And who has forces in Geva? The Pilishtim. Isn't Shaul aware? He's aware. What decision has he made though?
Surround them and
He's made a decision to surround them? Well, if you skip, let me say something. Right now, I don't know how many Pilishtim forces there are, but it doesn't seem that he's ready with many forces to go up to war against them. 2,000 and 1,000 soldiers is not what? It's not a big army, I'm sorry. It's not a big army. So apparently Shaul is not acting like what? like a king, take the initiative and get rid of the who? The Pilishtim. Now, is Biden in office that he's afraid? No, Biden's not in office, right? No. But here we see that the rest of the soldiers have gone home. They've gone home and they're in other places. And here they're not doing anything. What happens? Pasuk Gimel. Vayach Yonatan ate Netziv Pilishtim Asher Begeva Vayishmu Pilishtim. Wow, I'm stopping there. Who is a zealot? Who is saying, we got to act like we're an independent entity here? The son himself. The Yonatan, without asking permission, it seems from who? From Abba. Takes the initiative. How many soldiers does he have? 1,000 soldiers. He goes into Geva. It's like, the United Nations control commissioner there. Geva is what's stationed there, a netziv, a commissioner of the Pilishtim. Again, the Pilishtim are ruling over us maybe now for, who knows, some 200 years, maybe collecting taxes. And who? Today there's an expression, if the Prime Minister of Israel right now would go on top of the Temple Mount and have a minyan there, you know what the left would say and what they are? That would ignite the entire Middle East. That's what they would use. In Hebrew, the term is Hem Yadliku et Mizrach HaTichon. They're igniting. What Yonatan is doing is similar to like igniting the what? The entire Middle East. He goes ahead. He initiates out of zealousy of the Malchut, apparently, and he's trying to wake up his Abba. What's going on? Why are we attacking? You know that a very good defense is what? Good offense. That's what Yonatan learned from you, apparently. So Yonatan learns that it's a good offense. Vayishmu Pilishtim. What do you think the Tanakh wants to indicate by saying Vayishmu Pilishtim? Where does the word go out to? The word goes out. If this initiative is taken here east of Yerushalayim, the word goes all the way out. Here. Goes all the way out to the southwestern part of the country. What do they hear? The Jews are starting up. Not even Jews, one small army of Yonatan. What is this going to cause? We're going to see now a gigantic army mobilized. A gigantic army is going to be mobilized. Vayishmu Pilishtim. Now, Shaul is aware that if the Pilishtim heard of my son's attack, what are they likely to do? Attack. What does Shaul do in turn? V'Shaul takaba shofar b'chol haaretz lemor yishmua yivrim. What is Shaul trying to do? He sounds the shofar. The shofarot are sounded in many, many places in the country, and he wants the ivrim to be awakened. Ivrim, some of you know, is a nickname for the Jews, the Jewish people. But here we're talking about the word ivri in a derogatory sense. Do you remember, to prove the point that it's a derogatory term, a Jewish servant, what is he called in the Chazal? In the Torah, he's called Eved Ivri. Very good. What is Yosef called by the Egyptians when he's sitting in prison?
Oh, but that's a good thing.
A Nar Ivri.
But that's a good thing. Right?
No. It's a word of zilzul. No. One second. It's a word of zilzul, of belittling. Ivri is a derogatory term. Right now, King Shaul, although is before the third reigning, he wants whatever soldiers were fighting wars, Ivrim, and maybe they've crossed the Jordan, went back to Yavesh Gilad or so. He wants them now to be enlisted. What do they do? Pasuk Dalet. V'chol Yisrael shamu lemor. Israel hears. He ka Shaul netziv Pilishtim. He took the initiative. You see it. Pasuk Dalet, to hit the commission of the Pilishtim. V'gam nivash Yisrael b'Pilishtim. Right now, the Pilishtim want to do revenge. They don't want to sit still. And what do Jewish people do? Vayitza'aku ha'am acharei shul Gilgal. Many of the local Jews, ha'am, that's in the area here, are now what? Collecting together after Shaul, going to the Gilgal region. What's happening though across the country? What's happening across the country? Here we see how the Middle East is being now lit ablaze. Pasuk Hey, Uflishtim ne'esfu. They're gathering together and they're mobilizing. Lilachem im Yisrael. They're mobilizing together to fight against the Jewish people. How much? 30,000 rechev. Wow. That's equivalent to 30,000 tanks of those days. 30,000 tanks. V'sheshet alafim parashim. In addition to that, you have 6,000 horse riders. Ve'am, as far as infantry is concerned, kachol al shar sfatayim laro. The numbers are not even brought here. Their infantry army is so large that the numbers are not brought here. Now, how many soldiers do we have in the area? 3,000 soldiers. How many airplanes? No airplanes. How many tanks? No tanks. In other words, like we said here, the Pilishtim are invading. They're bringing tens of thousands of troops from southwestern Israel across the mountain area, across Yerushalayim, coming to the area where the Binyamin region is right now. And it seems to be infantry versus armory. Now, if you're in Las Vegas now, where are you putting your money?
Army.
You're going to put your money with the Pilishtim. Okay? Right now, they're crossing Pisgat Ze'ev. They're in this area. And the question is, what does Israel do? It says at the end of the pasuk, Vaya'alu, they climb, Vayachanu b'michmash, Kidmat Beit Aven. They're parking in two areas. East of the area of the attack, which is Michmash, and they're parking Kidmat Beit Aven next to the area of Beit Aven. Mizrach of the area of Beit Aven is next to Beit El. Some say that it's the intersection of Ha'ai, where Ha'ai is next to Beit El. They're now east of this. Gentlemen, this doesn't happen in one day. The mobilization of these thousands of chariots and riders happens across a few days, and you have to be blind not to see the movement. You see this tremendous mobilization of forces. What reaction does it have on the local Jewish people? Pasuk Vav, V'ish Yisrael. Ish Yisrael meaning leaders. Ra'u kitzarlo. They see right now that it's a time of what? Of stress. Of what? Troubles. Ki nigas ha'am. The people, the everyday Jew, is now trembling. They feel a state of fear. And what do? Look at this reaction. Vayitchabe'u ha'am. They start hiding. Where? Ba'me'arot, in caves. Uvachagavim, in areas where there are thorny areas. Uvaslayim, inside mountain areas or rocky areas. Uvatzrichim, inside towers. Uvaborot, inside ditches. My dear friends, it seems that the Jewish people, by large, are in a state of trepidation. They're in such a state of fear. That's Ha'am, the simple Jews. There are others in Pasuk Zayin called the Ivrim. Those are the Jews that really have less pride for themselves, for the Jewish people. They're the lower class citizens. These Ivrim are apparently those that have been maybe subjected. I repeat, they've been already those Jews that have been subjected to the Pilishtim over this era. They're serving them, paying taxes, cleaning up the kitchen, shining the shoes, doing menial tasks and labor for the Pilishtim. These are the Ivrim, because we said the word Ivri is considered a derogatory term. The Ivrim, do you know what they're doing now? Avru Tayardain. They're fleeing. They're getting on the first airplane out of the country. They crossed the Jordan. Where are they going? Eretz Gad v'Gilad. Is that the direction they should be going? They're going in the opposite direction. Which direction? East. V'Shaul odenu v'Gilgal. Where is Shaul? Why? Why is in Gilgal?
His headquarters?
No, his headquarters is Givat Shaul, next to Pisgat Zev. Why is he going to Gilgal? What was he summoned to do by Shmuel the prophet?
Sacrifice.
To go there and wait for me after how many days? 7 days. But it's a pressured situation. Does Shaul act with cool? Does he show leadership or not? What does the text say at the end of Pasuk Zayin? V'chol ha'am chardu acharav.
Trembled.
What does it mean? V'chol ha'am chardu
They were
acharav.
anxious.
What is acharav? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Oh, he probably influenced them to also be in
Very nice. You have a name?
Yoshiyahu.
Nice to meet you. My name is Menachem. It says v'chol ha'am chardu acharav. Shaul, under pressure, is showing that he is panicking. He's afraid. He's panicking. Now, when you have a leader and you see him panicking, you see him full of fear, what does it do to the regular people? They also fear, full of fear. In other words, we call this, I heard this from Rav Wienenfeld also, I think it's called the snowball reaction. Right now, instead of Shaul showing leadership, taking the initiative, rounding up the soldiers, he's full of fear. When the people see him under pressure, feared, not knowing what to do, they're acting the same way. What is our situation right now? If you had a barometer to measure our situation, we call it in modern day Hebrew, batata. You know what batata is?
No.
Sweet potato. But it's an idiom for the situation is bad. Situation right now is bad. So very few people are joining to protect the nation of Israel. They have infiltrated. They're now sitting just above us. If they're sitting in Michmash, they're sitting above us. It's clearly with a strategic advantage. We are down below in the Jordan Valley because the prophet, like you said, David, ordered Shaul to be there to have an anointing process. The Pilishtim are humongous in number, humongous in the quality of weapons and in chariots and riders. We have an infantry versus an armored division. Nowhere in the numbers. Yonatan, without the permission of the father, tried to wake up his father and act like a king. And right now it seems that Shaul is not showing the courage of what a Binyamin people are supposed to be like. Any questions or comments? Huh? No. Pasuk Chet. Do you see the first word? Vayochel, or do you see that it's a kri uchtiv? Do you see an asterisk by it? That it's read one way yet pronounced another way? Do you see? Does it have it in your Tanakh edition? Okay. So it's written Vayochel, but it's pronounced Vayuchal. Let's read it. If we pronounce it Vayuchal, Shiv'at Yamim, Lamoed Asher Shmuel, V'lo Shmuel Gilgal, Vayafet Ha'am Me'alav. Here we have a very precarious situation. Okay? Shaul, one day, he's waiting for Shmuel. Second day passes, the third day passes, and so on. And then comes seventh day. And he's waiting. For whom is he waiting? For Shaul is waiting for Shmuel. Shmuel, the prophet, he knows what's going to happen in the upcoming days. How does he know? He has prophecy. So it's apparent that Shmuel knows about these events of the war upcoming against the Pilishtim. But he told Shaul, who has failed to listen exactly to what the prophet says, and this apparently is his downfall, that he does not exactly listen to the letter, to the instructions of the prophet. And in order to be a successful king, you must pay attention, adhere to the exact instructions. And the instructions are, go to Gilgal, wait for me until I arrive after 7 days. He's waiting. He's full of anxiety, Shaul, full of fear. And Shmuel hasn't arrived. What do people start doing? Vayafetz amelav. People start leaving him. Why? Because they see that he's in fear, and he says, "Don't. Everything's gonna be okay. Just and he doesn't arrive." Shmuel. It kind of reminds you of what situation we learned in the Torah about waiting and not arriving.
Not coming down from
Explain. What did Moshe apparently tell the nation?
Maybe a few days.
No. 40 days, maybe told them in prophecy, I'll be back after 40 days.
They came back in 40 days.
Right. However, Chazal explained, it has to be 40 full days, including the night with the day, and not starting with the day itself. And they thought otherwise. And they got nervous, just get nervous often. And they lost their patience, and they looked, as Rabbi Levi explains in the Kuz, they looked for an alternative to Moshe. An alternative to Moshe. Maybe Moshe has died. He didn't take a few Starkist tuna fish and some green peas and carrots with him. Did he go up there? No food. Are the Slurpees up there? 7-Eleven stores up there?
No.
They're not, I see. So, and no one's serving corned beef sandwiches up there as well?
Corned beef, no.
So how does a person last there for 40 days and 40 nights? They thought Moshe is gone. So here's a similar situation. And Shaul does not know what has to be done. He's not showing leadership. Okay? He doesn't understand in depth what does it mean a kingdom based upon instructions of a prophet. Now, when you're nervous, when you are in a state of fear, you don't act according to logic. You don't act according to what the prophet tells you. What does Shaul do? Pasuk Tet. Vayomer Shaul hagishu elai ha'ola vashlamim. He loses his patience, he loses his leadership, and he already demands to be brought to him two things, two types of korbanot. Number one, Olah is number one, the Olah offering, the burnt offering. And number two, Shilamim. Okay? What were the instructions in the former chapter, gentlemen?
Wait for him for 7 days and then...
Show me the psukim, please. Show me the clear instructions. Ken, look at the end of Perikid Aleph. Do you see it? Well, after Shaul is told by Shmuel we should go to the Gilgal, this is what they have to do. This is what they have to do in Gilgal. They have to bring zvachim shlamim lefnei Hashem. Maybe zvachim are the olot, and maybe then the shlamim are the actual shlamim. And this is what has to be done. That's how I understand this pasuk. But all this is after the arrival of who? After Shmuel arrives.
Zvahim are birds, yes.
Zvachim are sacrifices, but in this case it's likely to be the olot, the burnt offerings. It's likely to be the burnt offerings. Here, in Pasuk Tet, Shaul asked to have what brought before him? Ola and Shlamim. And in the meantime, what is brought as a sacrifice? Vayal ha'ola. He's yet to get to the what? To the Shlamim. But what was he supposed to do? To wait for Shmuel. But he didn't wait. When you lose your cool and you don't, and you're in a state of fear, he was supposed to wait patiently for the prophet of the generation to arrive and have trust in him, and he lost it. He lost it. He's full of fear. And he starts bringing korbanot. Who walks in a few minutes later? Pasuk Yud. Vayiki chaloto la'alot olah. As he finished bringing the olah offerings, the burnt offerings, vine, surprise, who's walking in? Shmuel ba. What does Shaul do? He goes out to meet him. Vayetze Shaul likrato livarcho. He goes out to meet him and give him a bracha for coming. But what should have been the meeting? Slicha. I'm sorry. I was supposed to wait for you. And I did not. I apologize. I'm so happy you're here. Is that what Shaul tells the prophet? David? No. It says that he goes out towards him to give him a bracha. And of course, does Shmuel have a cell phone contact with someone here in Gilgal? So how does he know what's going on there? He's a prophet. It could be that he sees the smoke, but I don't see the Tanakh indicates. It could be. But look what Shmuel says. Shaul is coming out to him, and before he can open his mouth and say, "Man nishma, kol beseder," how's your family? Before he even opens up his mouth, Pasuk Yud Aleph, Vayomer Shmuel, Me'asita, what did you do? And of course, Shmuel knows exactly what he did. Vayomer Shaul ki ra'iti ki nafatza ami alai. I noticed people are getting out of here. They're scattering or going away. Ve'ata lo vata lemoed hayamim. And you didn't arrive according to the time of day that I'm expecting you. Pilishtim nesafim Michmash. Remember where Michmash is? It's above him. At the seam of the mountain and Judean desert area is the town of Michmash, and he's afraid of the what? Of the attack of the Pilishtim. So here we see that again, Shaul fails to listen to the clear instructions of the prophet, and this is a problem. Furthermore, he does not admit to his shortcoming. He does not say, "I'm sorry, I should have waited, I didn't wait." Like, did he say he was sorry also when he was hiding behind the kelim and he was supposed to be appointed, anointed? No, he didn't say anything. There's a famous Gemara, we'll see it later on when we get to David. It says, David, Shaul be'echat velo altalo, ve'David b'shtayim ve'altalo. The Talmud compares these two leaders, Shaul and David, and the comparison is made regarding their fallbacks, their shortcomings. That even though Shaul had a shortcoming, but he was not excused. David had two shortcomings, one of which is the event with Bathsheba. Another is with the consensus that he took the counting. But it says Al-Tal, he was like he was excused. He had a slicha from Hashem. Why? Because every time that David falls, do you know what David does? Tshuva. He does tshuva. David proved to us a world of tshuva. He would ask for tshuva. He would repent before God. He would admit it. Shaul, though, every time we see a shortcoming by Shaul, we don't see the same thing. In a few chapters from now, when he's commanded to go to war against Amalek, and what does he decide to do? What does he take into captivity, David Hayes?
Agag.
Agag, what else?
The sheep.
The sheep. And what are the noble objectives of Shaul? Why does he take the sheep of Amalek? To sacrifice them. What a great idea. Oh, he's such a religious person. He wants to sacrifice. And when the prophet arrives, he says, what is that? Meh. And why do you have Agag? Shaul points a finger. Upon whom does he point a finger? David? He says, the people persuaded me. He points a finger of fault at the people. Instead of what? Taking the responsibility himself, exactly. So we see here another fallacy here, that the people are getting dispersed. Shaul's losing patience. He brings a sacrifice. Immediately after the sacrifice, who arrives? Shmuel. And he can Shaul is to be taught a lesson that he should be waiting. He's fearful. He instills fear in the people. We'll continue with this point, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow.